Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 6.
North Dakota businesses can reopen on Friday. Governor Doug Burgum saying it will include bars, restaurants, health clubs, salons, and others impacted by his Executive Order 2020-06. They were closed weeks ago in an attempt to slow the spread of coronavirus. The governor says that North Dakota is doing well on 6 of 8 state conditions, as well as meeting federal guidelines.
But what this means is that if you're in the personal care business, a bar, restaurant owner, others, it's all voluntary. You're not required to open this weekend, but if you choose to open on heading into this weekend, that's something that you can do.
In the coming days, the governor plans to go over Phase 1 guidelines moving forward, such as physical distancing, wearing masks, and more. He wants those who can telework from home to continue and schools to continue distance learning. Speaking of that story, as far as bars and restaurants go, a few in Fargo tell us that they aren't ready to reopen and welcome customers back inside. GP's Greek Kitchen and Fargo Luna are two businesses that said that they'll be relying on takeout and deliveries. Faux Delicious in downtown Fargo says it plans to open and will keep tables 6 feet apart following CDC guidelines. The restaurant, as many in our area, says that this pandemic has cut into its business drastically.
Our menu is like a soup base, hot soup base, so taking home is not have the same experience as sitting down, you know.
What we've been doing is using the drive-through, which is funny because before the coronavirus hit, we did not use the drive-through.
Faux Delicious and GP's Greek Kitchen say that they applied for federal aid to get them through this pandemic, but they have yet to be approved. 2 more people have died with coronavirus in North Dakota, bringing the state's total now to 19. Both are Cass County residents in their 80s. There are 75 new positive cases today, with the majority being in Cass and Grand Forks counties. 5 more patients have been hospitalized, bringing the current hospitalization total to 23. 350 patients are listed as recovered. In Minnesota, 14 more people have died from the coronavirus. The state's death toll now stands at 286. There are 214 more positive cases today, bringing the total to 3,816. The health department says 292 people currently in the hospital. 122 of those are in ICU. 1,842 people no longer need isolation and are listed as recovered. Can't complain about the weather. In fact, after the news and Wheel of Fortune, how about stepping outside for a little outdoor activities tonight? Hutch joins us from his home with an early first alert look at our Monday evening weather planner. Hutch?
Thanks so much, Mike. I got to tell you, temperatures outside just awesome. And over the weekend, many of us saw hit and miss showers and rumbles of thunder. Today, most of the area stayed dry. Still near 70 in Fargo, 69 Bismarck, Jamestown 66, and Babe the Blue Ox at 62. It's a little cooler in northwest Minnesota. As mentioned, we're dry, but out to the west, we do have some hit and miss showers that'll make their way into our forecast area tomorrow. So enjoy tonight. We do have changes coming that I will document here momentarily. Temperatures stay in the 60s. Then after sunset, we will slowly fall through the 50s. We'll have increasing clouds. And as you can see by this last icon here, Mike, a chance for some sprinkles as we go through the overnight and into the morning hours. Grand Forks will be low 50s by 10 o'clock tonight, with clouds moving in. All details on a hitch in the proverbial giddy up in your Tuesday forecast here in just a minute.
There always is. Thanks, Hutch. The woman accused of child neglect in the death of a child in her foster care has now been charged with second-degree murder. 35-year-old Kelly Anderson could face up to 40 years in prison if convicted. The charge comes after a child in her care was taken to Sanford last Thursday. Anderson told police that the child self-injures himself and claimed one such episode the afternoon before the child was taken to the hospital. A preliminary autopsy states that the child likely died from asphyxia associated with blunt force trauma, and the official manner of death is listed as homicide. A 4th person has been charged in Clay County in the murder of 19-year-old Destiny Avery. An arrest warrant has been issued for 33-year-old Brandon Erbstoser on aiding an offender in murder. 3 people are already in jail connected to that murder. 22-year-old David Erno and 26-year-old Andrea Payne stand charged with aiding an offender in second-degree murder. Authorities say that they helped cover up Avery's gruesome murder. 27-year-old Ethan Broad is charged with the murder of Avery. Authorities say that he told him he killed, dismembered, and threw Avery's body in the trash. Valley News Team's crime and safety reporter Bailey Hurley did some digging into Broad's past and questions the surrounding of his mental state.
After threats to live on the street, overall cognitive challenges, and not being able to, quote, see the consequences of his actions, Catholic Charities became Ethan Broad's legal guardians in 2011 as part of their intellectually disabled program. Court documents reveal each year Broad's report was filed, Catholic Charities stated Broad would need their support and protection indefinitely, saying Broad's ability to understand, make, and communicate decisions is compromised. However, after nearly 8 years in Catholic Charities care, Broad was terminated in November 2019. In court documents, Catholic Charities stated, quote, it will not be detrimental for Ethan to be his own guardian. This despite their yearly remarks stating the opposite. Due to HIPAA, Catholic Charities was not able to talk with us about Broad's history with the program or whether or not they felt Destiny Avery's grisly murder would have been avoided had Broad still been in their care. Executive Director Diane Nechaparenko says each ward is checked on at least once a month, saying rules and practices vary among each person, and added just because rules aren't given to those in the program doesn't mean they will be followed. Bailey Hurley, Valley News Live.
We contacted Broad's attorney this afternoon for a comment on how his mental capacity could impact this case. However, we have not heard back. Investigators say they have a case of arson on their hands stemming from the fire last Thursday in North Fargo. Police confirmed to Valley News Live that they're investigating suspicious circumstances surrounding this North Side apartment fire. Several tenants of the building at 2814 7th Street North reached out to our whistleblower hotline with their concerns that the fire was set intentionally. No arrests have been made. The fire caused significant damage to a ground floor apartment and smoke damage in many other units. A 20-year-old woman was seriously injured after sideswiping a semi in the Northern Valley. Investigators say that the semi driver was heading to a Grand Forks Industrial Park off of I-29 around 11 last night when he says the woman ran into his truck. The semi driver wasn't hurt and is not facing charges. One woman is in the hospital, another sits in jail tonight following a standoff in Jamestown. Police were called late last night about a woman who was stabbed in the leg and had locked herself in a bedroom with an infant for protection. Eventually, the two were able to get out without further harm. That's when this woman decided to keep police away. Authorities would later find out that 47-year-old Nicole Bearking had a relationship with the woman injured. Bearking threatened to harm herself with a knife and eventually walked toward officers with the knife. She would be shot by police with a less than lethal projectile. She surrendered and is being held on multiple charges that you can read about on the VNL News app. Thousands of mask mates were donated to Sanford Hospital by Microsoft today. These mates allow the protective mask to be tied around the head of the hospital workers as opposed to their ears, which can cause pain if worn for long periods of time. They were all using designs using a 3D printer.
Effectively allows you to hook the straps, so instead of hooking on your ear, hook on the back of this, and this goes around the back of your head. To take all the strain off your ear and put it all towards, the back of your head, which it can be spread out and much more comfortable.
Microsoft next plans to donate these to Essentia and other facilities where hospital workers are in need of them. The company's goal is to make 15,000 by mid-May. Minnesota will now welcome nurses from out of state to help fight COVID-19. As reporter Katie Steiner explains, not everyone thinks it's a good idea.
Governor Tim Walz's executive order allows certain out-of-state healthcare professionals to come into the state of Minnesota and work temporarily. Normally, they would have to get a license from the Minnesota State Board. The order cites this as the reason for getting more help in quickly. Quote, rapid increases of COVID-19 cases, such as the situation in Nobles County, risk overwhelming local healthcare providers, particularly in rural areas. Long-term care facilities, which are home to some of the most at-risk Minnesotans, are also experiencing shortages of qualified healthcare professionals, end quote. But the Minnesota Nurses Association has some serious concerns about this new order. Hundreds of Minnesota nurses have been furloughed since hospitals can't do elective surgeries. And the association says it doesn't make sense to call in more nurses when you have nurses here out of work. It released a statement saying, quote, Minnesota nurses call on the governor, legislators, and hospitals to come together to work on creating a statewide labor pool made up of furloughed, unemployed, and retired Minnesota nurses to answer the great need being faced in our healthcare facilities. Emily Allen is a nurse working at Bethesda Hospital. That's the hospital with solely COVID-19 patients. She described their staffing situation on WCCO Sunday morning.
Where I am in particular, I can't speak for the rest of the state, but we have adequate nursing staff for right now.
Allen also added this is a constantly changing situation.
But we definitely are every day seeing the positive numbers or, the positive results of COVID coming back. So our influx of patients is going up.
Katie Steiner, WCCO 4 News.
The executive order is effective immediately and will only be valid during this peacetime emergency. Later on Valley News Live at 6, golf anyone? Which driving ranges in Fargo are now open and how they're dealing with social distancing.
And if you were golfing this morning, a little low fog in the FM area to start our day. Beautiful conditions for Monday with temperatures reaching the low 70s in Fargo, upper 60s in Grand Forks. Big changes on Tuesday. I'll have hour-by-hour details right after this.